Chapter 33. The mare gave an outraged squeal and did her best to buck Torak off. He clung to her mane and hooked his legs in front of her belly. She reared. Maybe that would rid her of this infuriating burden. But he flung himself forwards and gripped with his thighs. She launched into a gallop, nearly wrenching his arms from their sockets. He slithered about on her broad, slippery back, just managing to stay on. She made for a low-hanging branch. He ducked. Twigs scraped his back. He stayed low in case she tried that again. They crashed through thickets, and the herd, panicked by her panic, crashed after them. Between the trees, Torak glimpsed the river. The mare was heading upstream, towards the valley where she felt safe. Her hide was rough against his cheek, and as he smelt her horsey sweat and heard her breath soaring in her chest, he felt a pang of guilt. She was his friend and he'd frightened her. Well, too bad. Nothing mattered except saving Wren. Without warning, the mare's forequarters rose. Her withers smashed into his cheekbone. Tommy. I'm busy, Tommy.
You're busy.
Yeah. Then the mare thudded to earth, bashing his cheeks again. Seeing spots, he scrambled upright as they sped into the glare of firelight, into the heart of the deep forest camp. Trailing pails and cooking skins, they galloped between the scarlet trees, while around them people scattered, snatching up children and gaping at Torak. Over his shoulder he shouted, "Your mage is a soul-eater in disguise. Come to the sacred grove and see for yourselves." Then the camp was behind them, and they were racing uphill towards the ridge. Only then did Torak realize that no one had shot at him. No arrows, no poisoned darts. They dared not risk harming the sacred herd. His medicine pouch banged against his thigh, and without knowing why, he thanked his mother's spirit for keeping him safe. Another fallen tree rushed towards him, and he threw himself against the mare's neck just before she jumped. Mud splattered his face as she landed in a bog, sinking up to her hocks. She struggled to free herself, and he leaned forwards to help her. Her hindquarters gave a tremendous heave, and they were out, flushing grouse from the rushes in a gobbling flurry. The moon was sinking, the shadows leaching from the forest as they hurtled towards the Wind River. Torak saw that they were further east than the trail he'd taken before. This was way steeper, more overgrown. The wily mare knew a shortcut to her valley. Branches tore at his hair. No, Tommy, I'm busy. Blackthorn blossom flew like snow. Suddenly the mare jolted to a trot, then halted altogether, throwing down her head and nearly pitching him over her withers. Behind her the herd ran into each other, shook themselves and began to graze. "No," panted Torak, flapping his legs and punching her neck. "Don't stop, we're not there yet." But it was useless. The mare scarcely felt it. When he went on punching, she stamped and lashed her tail, catching him stingingly on the cheek. She was on her own ground now, and not to be intimidated. Or not by Torak. A familiar cark overhead, and Rip and Wreck swooped, their talons almost grazing the mare's rumps before flicking skywards. Startled, she jerked up her head, and behind her the herd snorted in alarm. Again the ravens swooped. The mare sidestepped, showing the whites of her eyes. But it wasn't only the ravens, Torak realized. She'd caught a scent she feared. Once again she broke into a canter. Once again they crashed through the willows. The mare was tiring, and so was Torak. His limbs ached, and he rode in a blur of black branches and raven wings. The Wind River vanished underground, and willows gave way to spruce. In the east, Torak saw a red sliver of dawn, livid as a wound. The mare's hoofbeats sounded loud as they entered the holly trees. Torak felt the power of Thiazi swirling around him. The mare didn't like the hollies, but whatever had spooked her still drove her on. She smelt the fire before he did. Then Torak saw it, black smoke piercing the bloody sky. Dread came a stone in his belly. Was he too late? He put his hand to the pouch at his belt and felt the medicine horn. He had no breath left to pray out loud, but in his head he prayed to his mother to save Wren. He prayed to the world spirit. he called upon Wolf. As Wolf and Dark Fur loped after the horses, Wolf sensed that their hunt was changing its purpose, although he didn't know what it was. He slowed to a trot. Tommy, put it back. Tommy, put it back. No, Bubba, put it back. Put it back. As Wolf and Dark Fur loped after the horses, Wolf sensed that their hunt was changing its purpose, although he didn't know what it was. He slowed to a trot, and Dark Fur slowed with him. He pricked his ears. On the wind he caught a faint high keening, higher than the highest wolf whine or the sharpest back squeak. Dark Fur heard it too, but she didn't recognize it. Wolf did. It was the yowl of the deer bone which Tall Tailless carried at his flank, the deer bone which used to be silent, but had now begun to sing. With it, Wolf caught another sound, but this one was one that Dark Fur couldn't hear, as it was inside Wolf's head. It was Tall Tailless howling for him, just as Wolf had howled for Tall Tailless in his head long ago, in that terrible time when the bad Taillesses had trapped him in the stone den. Pack brother, come to me, the pack sister is in danger. A cold nose nudged Wolf's flank. Dark Fur was puzzled. Why do you slow? Wolf didn't know what to do. He is not Wolf, he told her. Dark Fur's gaze turned stern. You were pack brothers. A wolf does not abandon his pack brother. Wolf stood miserably on the trail, listening to the howling in his head, while the great bright eye peered above the mountains, and the scent of the bright beast that bites hot flew towards him on the wind. Cool.